All right, hopefully that's better. Let's see. See, I have a scratch. See, I know you can't see it, but I mistakenly picked up a dirty rag before and I put a scratch, right up at the top. So I'm going to have to just lightly refinish that on the belt grinder. Ugh. All right. Always use a clean rag. So at this stage of a build, I use a very, very fine belt. These are 2 inches by 72 inches. These run about, $4, $5, $6, $7 a piece, depending on the quality. This is made in the USA, and it's a Norax X22. This is fantastic for, putting a very fine finish. And this is a belt grinder. This is a 2x72 belt grinder from Ameribraid. They're also made in the US. It's a whole bunch of attachments for it. But at this point, I don't need a table or anything. This is what's called a platen. These are the roller wheels. It's a contact wheel, and basically you get it around the drive wheel back here. And then you got to pull this tensioner down. Let's see. Hard to do with a camera mount, but I'll get to it. Yeah, that's good enough. That's pretty good. Okay, I'll put that off that. Let's give it another clean. All right, now it's ready for etching. This stuff's pretty nasty. So this is hydrochloric acid or muriatic acid. It's yellow. It's absolutely very caustic. So what I typically do is put a full gas mask on. So this is what I use to etch the steel to bring out the Damascus. Some people put it in their pools to balance the pH. So a couple of things I got to put on this gas mask. Let's see here. Let me read this. Probably can't hear me, but so the acid etches steel, but it also will destroy any of the softer metals, like these brass pins. Right, so basically, if you use painter's tape, cover the spots you don't want etched. Should be good to go. The etching doesn't take very long. You know, I use a pretty strong concentration of hydrochloric acid. So really a couple of minutes. I'll check it every minute or two and make sure there's an even etch. You can see how it transforms from like blank steel into something really beautiful. So. All right, that should be good. That should protect the brass pins. You see, you know, it's basically steel. Can't really see any etchings or any of the Damascus. So let's go put on gloves and make this happen. So hydrochloric acid doesn't affect plastic, so that's why I keep it in here. But it'll destroy just about anything metallic or something like that. And it's really caustic, and you can't breathe it in. So everything's open. I have fans on. I'm just going to open up the top of this in this bin here. There it goes. All right, you might see this. Yeah, you can probably see the mist coming off. You can't breathe that in, so you'll see it going to my air collection system. And here's the clean blade, and that just goes right in. And you'll see immediately, you might be able to hear it too, the hiss. So that'll sit there for a minute or two, and then we'll check it out and see if it's etching properly. This is really the last step in a, this is really the last step in a blade. I'll cover this for now. This took me about 2 weeks to make. I draw it on paper first, and then I use steel, of course. This is the raw steel here. So, looks pretty dirty. This is all superficial. So when I start a blade, I just, sand that off, grind that off. It comes out really nice. This is 1095 steel. Take my mask off. Yeah, this is 1095 steel. This makes a nice blade. It's easy to sharpen. Easy to forge. It's a fantastic, inexpensive steel to start blade making. When you get better, then you can start buying, professional Damascus. This piece here came from Vegas Forge. You can see just a beautiful sort of wavy pattern in there. And this piece will make probably, depending on the size, about 3 small blades. I make small blades for friends and family. Yeah, this is gorgeous. So this Vegas Forge Damascus is probably $350 for this piece alone. So it's very expensive because it's really hard to make Damascus really well. I make Damascus myself, but I'm not very good at it. And the knife I'm finishing up now is for a special friend, and I wanted to, get a nice professional piece of perfectly folded and annealed Damascus steel. So that's from Vegas Forge. I have another piece here. This is Chad Nichols. He's also a well-known steel maker. He also makes knives. He calls this the boomerang Damascus pattern. I'm saving this piece here for a friend who was a retired or Army veteran here in the U.S., and I'm going to make him just a gorgeous drop point Damascus steel. It's going to be big. It's going to be awesome. But I'm going to make that for him, and I think he's going to love it. So this is Chad Nichols steel. It's also expensive. I did cut a piece off the end here to make a smaller blade here, but this billet itself was like Yeah, it was like $375. But it's worth it. And people that do this, I'm not a professional blade maker. I've made about, I don't know, 30, 40 knives, really for friends and family. But, when you get good at it, you can really make some beautiful stuff. So, Chad Nichols. And then all this other stuff is all the scrap I keep. So all my failed knives and, metal everywhere. And one day, when I make my own Damascus, I will, I use some of these pieces here. This is a piece of sanmai. You can't really see it here because it's, needs to be surface ground. But sanmai is a low fold. It's actually gorgeous. And my friend up in Torrington, Connecticut, made me this billet, and I started to make a knife from it. And I'm going to come back to it. Because he did it really good. He gave it to me for free. So I made a blade out of it. And I also make folding knives. Folding knives are significantly harder because you have geometry and you got to have the lock bar all set up. And I use titanium. This is a piece of titanium. Titanium is also expensive, so I take care when I make titanium or make my folding knives. And then this is my little forge here. So when I actually use my anvil, you can see here all my hammers. I'll show you that in a minute if you like. I come over here, I heat up the metal, get it red hot, and I can come over here and bang the hell out of it with my forging hammers, and go back and forth until the shape is done. And then you've probably seen that show, Forge and Fire, where they do the quench. You get the knife super hot because you want to get it hard. And then that's my paint can, which is my quench can. It's not really big because I only make small knives, but maybe I'll show you how I do that one day. It's actually a lot of fun. So it's been a couple of minutes. Let's go check out the etch, the acid etch on the Damascus blade. I got to put my my gas mask on because I have to open up the container. Yep, there it is. I'm all set. Get my hair out of here. See how he did. You can see the bubbles coming up. Let me put this in the light a little bit. So you see all those bubbles in there. That's the metal boiling off or getting etched away on the steel. So when you pull it out, let me show you what happens. Actually, let me get a rag. Hold on a sec. It's not going to be totally done because you usually do 2 sessions of about 5 minutes, but yeah, that's looking great. That's a nice etch. Let me show you that in the light. So if you remember before what the steel looked like, it was pretty plain, but see what it looks like now. There. That's what Damascus is supposed to look like if you etch it. Amazing. I'm going to get it darker. I'm going to do another 5-minute session, and then I'll prepare it and finish it, and I'll show you final product. So back in the etch. Let's close that up. Something's up here, let's make sure. Yeah. Okay, that's all in. So this is all acid on my hands. This is ridiculous. So let's take these off for a minute. You take the mask off. So let's see. Thank you. Yeah, I love Damascus is awesome. I think there was a question about quench. So I've already done the quench and the heat treat on this blade. This is really the last step. So when I quench, I actually use canola oil for a couple of reasons. Number one, that's really all you need. It doesn't smell very bad. And I don't have a temper oven, so I use the kitchen oven. And my wife doesn't want to smell the professional steel maker's etch, and doesn't smell very good. So I use canola oil, and I heat it up with one of these little canisters. You don't want it to be too cold. So that's what I use to quench. And let's see. So yeah, the thing about acid is you want to have a base nearby, because if it spills, or gets anywhere you want it to be, you want to be able to quickly clean it up. And then I also, so you want to have baking soda around. And then what I also do is after I do the final etch, which is doing right now, I will soak it in distilled water and baking soda to make sure there aren't any acid remains on it, because it could just continue to eat away. And it'll make the knife look like shit, frankly. So what do I have to do? I got to get some distilled water, which is down here. Now, if I was making a regular steel blade, they're so fast. I can get them done in a couple hours outside of the time it takes to temper, which is another 2 to 4 hours. But there's so much more work to Damascus that it just takes a lot more time. And people that sell Damascus blades, folks complain that they're expensive, but you can see there's a ton of time just to finish up a blade. Normally, I'd be done hours ago. So that's my base. Okay, what types of steel do I use? I talked a little bit about that before. My regular knives, I use 1095 steel because it's easy to quench, easy to temper, easy to form. And then after it's made, it's super easy to sharpen and keep sharp. It's not like a stainless steel, but there's enough alloy in there, chromium, to make it a very nice and affordable blade. And when I sell my blades, I want to give a custom experience for like under $100. So I generally use 1095 regular steel, but for special blades, like the one I'm making here for a friend, I'm using professionally made Damascus. I said this before, but this is the Vegas Forge steel, which is awesome. This is you can kind of see the wavy grain in here. And then this one is Chad Nichols, which is boomerang Damascus, and that's what I use for the knife I'm finishing now. So, I got to do a couple more things to finish this this etch, and then I'll buff it and polish it, and we'll be good to go. So I think that's enough etch time. I'm going to put the mask back on. Make sure it's sealed. Yeah, I what do? I purchase when I want to make a really impressive knife, I'll purchase billets from a solid maker. But I also make my own Sanmai and Damascus. It doesn't turn out very good because I don't have enough time to practice. So I will make my own alloys and my own Damascus. But this one, I purchased some nice steel because it's for a special friend. So there's the acid, there's the neutralizer. Check. Can't have enough of this. This is fantastic. Yeah. That's about as dark as I want it. That's exactly what I was going for. So let's show you in the light. There you go. That's a Damascus blade. And if I did it right, it's going to be hard to see, but I love to etch the spine of the blade because you can actually see the waves of the steel pressed together. Check that. I don't know. It's not very high quality, is it? Up close, it looks awesome. Yeah, you can see the waves of the steel pressed in together, and then the bevel itself is there. So that's the etch complete. So I'm going to take off the painter's tape that should have protected the brass pins, and it did. Looks pretty damn good. Yeah, the handles. This handle's micarta. Micarta is a type of there's a fancy scientific word like phenyl, I don't know, something like that. But it's like plastic and paper and resin and epoxy. And the layers in the Damascus here are all different bits of canvas and burlap and paper that is pressed together and then sealed with epoxy resin, so it becomes, better than wood, actually. You can put it in the dryer, you can mold it, you can shape it. It doesn't deteriorate. And, you can work with it much easier than wood, especially when you're drilling. If the wood isn't stabilized, you can crack it very easily, but this stuff will not. I have never cracked a piece of micarta. So let's give it another wash. Let's put some WD-40. Oh yeah, that looks great. So now what I'll do is I'm going to use a special polishing compound called Renaissance. I'll show you what I do there too if you're interested. I still have to do that part. Yeah. So this stuff is awesome. This will last you for years. They use this in museums to polish anything. Wood, metal. It really stinks. It's got a very bad odor, but it's really good. So I'm going to keep this on and just polish it. You can stay on if you like, of course. And then I'll show you a tour of the other materials I have. Let's get this acid out of here. I go through tons of rags. You don't need a lot at all. And what this will do is it'll protect it from the elements. It'll help protect and stabilize the etch. There's probably molecules of acid somewhere, so this will help neutralize it, give it some protection from the elements. That turned out really nice. It was a perfect amount of time in the acid bath. How much does this cost? Well, I make a normal blade, like a plain steel blade. Fully custom. You get to pick the materials. That's I try to make that for like $90, $90 for 1095 steel. Now this one, the materials alone, is about $200. And then that's no profit. That's exactly how much materials cost, because that's professional Damascus, and the handle, micarta is rare. So if I make it $50 profit, that's fine for me. So $250 probably. This blade here, all in, took about, I want to say four hours of manual work. Where do I sell them? I sell them privately. People know I'm a bladesmith. My friends and family reach out if they want a knife for a friend, and this one's for a special friend. So you can find me, you can talk to me here on Reddit. I sell on my website, boardash.com, which is my last name, Boardash Blades. But really what it comes down to is, people like a design, and, we have a conversation. This model is called the tortoise, the desert tortoise, because of the gray tones of the handle. I also make a giant tortoise, which is probably like that, much bigger. This knife, I make this size because, it's under 3 inches. And, the sharpen point here is under 3 inches. And if you ever travel into like a city, or, I commute to New York City for my real job, you can't really bring a knife greater than 3 inches. So I make this like an everyday carry. I make it super slim so you can pop it into a sheath. I also make custom leather sheaths. And, it can slip right in your front pocket and no one will know it's there. So it's a very tough blade. It is sharp, but to me it's more of a like a tool blade, because if you notice how thick the spine is, that's a thick spine. I like strong blades like that. Hardly doubt it'll break. If it does, send it back and I fix it or make it again. But that's done. This is complete. I'm going to ship it out on Tuesday after Memorial Day. I already made a sheath for it, a beautiful leather sheath. I have my leather crafting equipment over there, some raw leather, and some of my tools. This is my sort of like experimental knife. This is more of a slicer. This is a Kydex sheath. And it's all dirty because I use this for experiments, like for sharpening, if I need practice sharpening. But I really like this material. This is also a micarta. It's very smooth. I got it polished very smooth. It's going to be about the same size. You'll notice a couple of the difference. This one here is more of a sheep's foot. See how flat that blade is? And I also made it super thin. Look how thin it is compared to this one here. So this would be good for slicing. Also very small, can bring to the city. But the difference, this is a similar modified sheep's foot. It has basically a flat portion here, and then there's a little bit of a belly, and then you have more of a defined point at the end. So I do vary my blade types here. You can't really see it because it's filthy, but this is sanmai. You may see some lines over here. In fact, I can probably buff that up and show you what sanmai looks like. But I really like that. You can see here, I forgot to put the painter's tape when I etched it, and it it etched it right into the steel pin. So this isn't going anywhere. This is why it's an experimental knife. And then basically I had the knife in the acid etching, and the acid came up right here and then ate into the metal pin. So I actually can drill it out and put a bigger pin in there, but I wouldn't sell this thing. This is an experiment. I would just make it again if someone wanted it. But I'd like that. Like, look at how the when I sand the handles and I shape the handles, you can expose some of the under material and create this like almost like cowhide. But I really like this slicer. It's like a slicer. Hey, Canada, I see folks from Canada here in the U.S. Cool. It's awesome. So, yeah, that's my, it's not sharp, by the way. I'm grabbing it this way. This is my experimental sanmai. And then here's the finished Damascus. For those who just tuned in, I'll give you one more tour. So you'll see here, this is the, this edge here. This is a piece of, actually I have another piece of this micarta. Let me show you how it starts life. Hey, thanks for the award. Very cool. So this is my material shelf. Let me put this away for a minute. So I love, yeah, I'm self-taught, internet. My grandfather was sort of a tradesman in New Rochelle, New York, and he used to, go with him on builds. He did everything, carpentry, metalwork, whatever. So I learned, how to use tools and stuff from him. And then I've always been a fan of blades. So over the years, I started to build up a forge. And then I have buckets of junk metal over there for all my experiments. So self-taught is the key. So I have an obsession. I search the internet every night for, obscure handle material. So I'll show you a couple of pieces I really like. This is like rich wood. So if you remember this blade here, this is how the handle starts. And you can probably see the lines, the black and the lighter material here. And then when you make the handles, when you cut them to size, then you sand them with my belt sander. This is what I use for shaping the metal and shaping handles. And you shape them to size here. But that's how this knife, that's the life of this knife here. That's how that started. Yeah, it's called resin wood. But like I said, I'm obsessed with finding creative material that people just make in their home. This is like an army green or OD green and black. This one turns out really nice when the handles are done. Fantastic, sort of rich dark green, great hunting color. Love it. I do make carbon fiber handles. This is a thin piece of carbon fiber. This turns out really nice. And then I have some rich dark brown micarta. I love this material. This feels very warm. And then I have effectively translucent green I haven't made a knife out of this yet, but this would be beautiful. And yeah, like I was saying, the knife I made today, that's what a piece of that handle starts out as. That's what it looks like. You get a couple of blocks of this, and then you draw on paper how you want it to show up, and then you start to carve away, and you get a nice fit. Small knife, utility. I found this is amazing. Look at this. This is called rag micarta. So you'll see pieces of rag. You have some burlap, probably some paper in there. But this would make such an awesome handle, like so intricate, lots of visual effects. I cannot wait to use this. Like imagine a knife like that with, just an awesome piece of material like that. I love that stuff. And then when you sand it down, you expose some other material beneath the top layer, and it just adds to the visual and textual effect. So I'm obsessed with going to find, going on the internet and finding it. I have yet to make my own micarta. I'd like to do that one day, but I much more enjoy making the steel. I love the steel and this kind of work, and I'll buy micarta from the makers around. And so when someone wants me to make them a knife, I'll give them the tour of the materials that I have. I have, like I said, carbon fiber. I have liners, where I have some color. And then I also have natural wood. This is a nice dark wood. This works pretty well too, but like I said before, you have to be very careful. Even though it's stabilized wood, it could split. So when you set your pins, like when you set these pins in here, you got to start with a very small drill bit and then work your way out to the size you want, because you'll split this so easily and then it's ruined. So the last thing here is I want to give the handle one more polish, because it got a little rough from the acid and it's a little tacky. So I'm going to do one more polish on the spine, on the handle, and then that'll be it for today. I have a new knife to start tomorrow. It's going to be big. It's going to be huge. It's probably going to be like this large, bigger handle, bigger blade. This is for an Army vet, a friend of mine from high school, and I'm going to make that for him tomorrow. So maybe I'll turn this on tomorrow too. But so I'll hang around and just finish polishing, and that'll be it. Put this guy to bed. You probably can't see it, but when you polish up this micarta, actually, maybe you'd be interested in this. But this is the belt grinder I use. And here are the Christmas tree of belts that I have, and they're different different weights or different grits. This is the metal conditioning. It's fabric, like Scotch-Brite. You also have really, really, really thick, very low grit. This is a 36 grit. This is good for when you're kind of shaping the knife in the beginning. Then before I was showing you how I did this is very lightweight Norax. This is my stropping leather. Yeah, so I have all these different types of belts, and that's what really adds up over the years these don't last forever. And so what I was saying is, when you shape a blade, you use belts, but also when you shape the handle, you use belts too. And then you start with a heavier grit to get the mold right. And then once you get back to the end, you use a very lightweight, light grit belt here. And then you can make these handles super smooth, like they're shiny. And that's how, kind of makers make well-protected, shiny, tough handles that'll last basically forever. But it all starts with shaping on the proper belts. Too much. Hey, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna start a new knife tomorrow from scratch, and maybe I'll just throw the camera on. I show you how it begins. This is the end. This is the very end. There's nothing more to do here. The handle feels awesome. It's a good size. The etch turned out excellent. It really, 2 sessions of 5 minutes each, with about 60 acid, 40 distilled water. It just it came out really, really nice. My friend's gonna dig it. The showpiece. It's custom made. You can't buy it in a store. The design's my own. I drew it on paper. Not that this is really hard to replicate if you know how to make a knife, but for people who appreciate completely handmade items, you can do a lot worse. So that's it. Here's the final tour. What causes those grain? Right. If you ever watch this, if you watch this again, I kind of show you how it starts, where basically you don't see anything. It just looks like a piece of steel. But that's what makes it Damascus. Damascus is a technique of folding different types of steel. Getting it super hot, two different types of steel, one like a nickel alloy and one like a 1095 steel. You get it super hot in the forge, and then you hammer the hell out of it, and you bend it and fold it and bend it and fold it into shapes. Yeah, I'm not good enough for forge and fire. I'm a slow knife maker, man. This, it took me 4 hours to make this, but I tell you, that's over probably a month. So forge and fire's out of the picture. I don't like rushing. Every minute. I love to savor every minute of making a piece of metal. But like I was saying, someone who asked a question about the grains, basically when you fold it like that, you're able to, make patterns in the metal. Just like swirling a paint can of different colors, you can fold metal and have the same effect. And so what happens is when you start to grind it out, grind it to your shape. This is the belt grinder that I use to shape the bevels and everything like that. It comes to a very, clean steel. And what I was showing the feed before is when the steel's all clean, I'm not going to do it again, but this is hydrochloric acid. So see that muriatic acid? That's hydrochloric acid there. And when you dip it into, a little plastic bin like that, the hydrochloric acid eats away the softer metal and leaves behind the pattern that was folded in the original forge. And that's how you get those designs. So this is called Boomerang Damascus, made by Chad Nichols. He's a professional steel maker. I do make my own Damascus, but it doesn't turn out very good. And like I said earlier, this is for a special friend. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna get a professional piece of Damascus, and just go all out for this piece, because he wanted it as like a showpiece. And so that's how you get the grains or the waves in that piece. A hell of a lot of fun, but it's expensive, and I don't do it that often. So. I'm certainly not going to do it now, but I also make my own sheaths. I just started making leather sheaths. So I made a leather sheath for this guy. I don't know where I put it, somewhere here. But I got all the material to make a nice custom sheath for it. It's got to be around here. Oh, here it is. So before I finish a blade, like I won't do the etch. I'll get the blade in a place where I'm happy with the the edge. It's got a decently sharp edge here. But before I do all that and do the final etch, I will go ahead and make a sheath. Because I don't want to make a sheath now, because it could ruin the beautiful etch here. I have to do the whole thing over again, which is as you can see, it's a pain in the ass. So I'll form the sheath around it. I'll clamp it, and then I'll finish it. So this is completely done. There's nothing else to do here with this guy. And then before I ship it out to the customer, you're welcome, by the way. What I do is just put some painter's tape. And I have a problem with leather sheets. I'll tell you that while I'm doing this. I don't like leather sheets. I don't like them. I like Kydex much more. So here's leather, here's Kydex. Okay? Kydex. Kydex is like a plastic, and what you do is you heat this up. You put your gloves on, use a super hot hair dryer. I have automotive dryer, and then you can bend it to shape, and then you put the knife in and you clamp it, and it has this sort of plastic mold around it. Does not look as nice, for sure, I'll give you that. This looks like a beautiful, finished showpiece here. This is effectively plastic. But the problem is leather will collect dust, micro debris, pieces of metal that maybe come off your blade that are microscopic, and they'll get embedded in the leather. All right, so every time you go in and out with the sheath, you're going to get scratches. And you can't wash it. You can blow it out, but the pieces will all really embedded inside here. So I know all these knife makers and whatnot, make leather sheets. I highly recommend, and I'll make it. If a customer wants it, I'll make a leather sheath, no problem at all, but I'll warn them that they're going to get scratches 100%. But with Kydex, it's certainly much easier to make. It's basically after you get everything, you press these eyelets in. I have an eyelet setter here that you basically press it in. Then you go to your belt grinder sander, and then you can make a nice edge so it's smooth and chamfered. And then you can make a little opening here. And basically the blade is locked in. Like that's not going anywhere unless you want to pull it out. So it's custom fit. But the thing about Kydex is that you can throw this in the dishwasher. You can use have an air compressor down here. Use compressed air, blow the hell out of it. The material is not going to really dig into it like it can with leather and cause scratches. And that's kind of counterintuitive. People think that, it's plastic, you're going to get little plastic ridges to, scratch the blade. But again, that's why I really prefer Kydex. But again, I'll do them. I'll make either one. So that's my rant on leather sheaths. And what I'm doing here is, because the gentleman that bought this wanted a leather sheath, I won't send it out without putting painter's tape on the blade because, who knows what could have entered in there. And if I put it in there myself and I notice a scratch, then I have to fix it again, which is ridiculous. So I send it out in painter's tape with the warning that it could get scratched. And then when they open up, they just peel it off, and they have a beautiful knife. The last thing I do is just trim the excess. And that's done. Ready to ship. Oh, how is it mounted? Yeah, I'll show you. I bought one of these neck mounts. So this goes around my neck and this goes in front of me, and it's unobtrusive. I can do everything I need to do and then show you how I, grind and cut and buff and drill without interference and all this kind of stuff. So that's it. I'm going to go have some dinner. That's my finished Damascus blade with micarta, custom micarta, end cut micarta, brass pins, and that ships out to the customer tomorrow. And then tomorrow I'm going to start, like I said, a brand new blade from scratch, big design, brand new design for me. I'm really excited. It's a drop point hunter. So thanks everyone. Have a good night, and hopefully you'll come back. Bye.